The Marlins, huh? One game out with a week left. They got the Mets and the Pirates with a week left. And about the only thing that the Dolphins could do yesterday to totally swamp anything Marlins related is what they did. I have a series of facts here for you, Chris Cody. I want you to pick your favorite one.
Wow.
Sean Payton, for 5 years, will make between $17 and $20 million a year. The Broncos will pay Russell Wilson $296 million through 2028.
Get out of here.
Sean Payton said last year that Teddy Bridgewater, don't be surprised if he replaces Tua. The Broncos gave up a first and a second round pick for Sean Payton, who last week had them preparing for Tua by having Ben DiNucci throw left-handed in practice, even though he was not left and is not left-handed.
Get out of here.
Yep, that's how they prepared for Tua.
He's a righty?
That's correct.
That's a tidbit that made me lay the 6.5 with the Broncos.
Then there's this group of facts, okay, because the Dolphins didn't have Waddle yesterday.
Yeah.
Don't need Jonathan Taylor, but could have had him. I don't think he would have done better than 8 touchdowns and 375 yards from the running back position, but maybe, given the way that it's going.
Uh-huh.
But this is what I want to show you as well, because this part in today's NFL is nuts. So they had 70 points through 3.5 quarters. The Jets have 42 points this season. The Patriots have 52 points this season. There is not a team in the NFC South who has 70 points this season. The Vikings have the leading passer by yardage and the leading receiver by yardage. They don't have 70 points this season. What you saw yesterday was totally nuts. And then Next Gen Stats says the 5 fastest times recorded this season from people running with a football, 3 different Dolphins own all 5 of the times.
Amazing. They have the most exciting thing in sports right now. I look forward to watching this team. They head to Buffalo this weekend, and they're not sweating Buffalo. Buffalo is sweating them.
Well, Buffalo's been just as good as they've been, even though they've lost. Okay, that's fine. That was your analysis last year as well.
Yeah.
And I was right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not as it related to comparing them to the Dolphins, you weren't.
You said they've been just as good as them? They had half as many points.
They lost to the Jets.
Their point differential's the same, even with that 50 spot that the Dolphins got yesterday. But regardless, the Bills, we'll see. We'll all get to find out together. It'll be a great deal of fun watching them at the top of the division because they're clearly better than the rest of the division. And this is the other fact I want to give you. Tua was drafted 5th overall. Zach Wilson drafted 2nd overall. Which is your favorite from those facts, Chris Cody?
Teddy over Tua is my favorite there.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
It's
Mike,
just because he's doing that thing. He's on TV saying the thing wrong. Big wrong.
let's play the video, Stugotz, of Sean Payton didn't like the reporter going into the question, the preamble of the question.
It is such great sound. I'm not certain the reporter asked a question.
He
was just rubbing it in.
That's right. And Sean Payton did not like it. He was just giving him, look, this is a historic embarrassment. After the game, Tua's like, we don't want to humiliate anyone. McDaniel's saying, I know I was a ball boy there and they didn't interview me for the coaching job in 2021, but I didn't think we should score more points. We're not looking to embarrass anybody. They could have. They could have put up 80-something in that game. But let's go ahead and listen to Sean Payton getting testy.
I know that you said it's embarrassing, but this is kind of an historic game. I mean, it's
I'm aware.
third time the team has scored 70 points over 7.
What's the question?
I mean,
What's the
how do
question?
you feel about it being
I just finished telling you.
historically embarrassing?
Next question.
How do you feel? I just told you I was embarrassed, but how do you feel about being historically embarrassed? Let's play that one more time so you can just hear at the end when he's saying, what's the question? Well, the question is, you're not just embarrassed. What about being historically embarrassed?
I know that you said it's embarrassing, but this is kind of an historic game. I mean, it's
I'm aware.
third time the team has scored 70 points over 7.
What's the question? What's the
How do you
question?
feel about it being
I just finished telling you.
historically embarrassing?
Next question.
He regrets coming back, right?
Yes.
He could have gotten that money anywhere, Billy. He got it there. He could have gotten that money. He was the coveted free agent. Man, things move fast in that sport. Because now what's McDaniel worth when you can see that clear and obvious of schematic advantages, Stugotz? When you're watching and that team is now the Chiefs' offense, and I gave you the stat.
It's better.
I'd slow down there just because the Chiefs have been in the AFC Championship the last 5 years.
Right.
But what you have at the quarterback position with the accuracy is one thing. But the stat I gave you last week that is the stunner is he gets rid of the ball on average in 2.4 seconds, faster than anyone in the league. That's going to help you keep him healthy. And on top of that, getting rid of it that fast, he's throwing the ball further downfield on average attempt than anyone else in the league. That combination with the accuracy, that's not stoppable.
His receivers get downfield faster than any receivers in the NFL. Like Sam Howell was sacked 9 times for the Washington Generals yesterday.
Washington, that should be the Washington
The
Generals.
Commanders, I'm sorry.
No, they should be the Generals, the team that played the Globetrotters, because he threw 4 interceptions as well.
But, Dan, on all 9 of those sacks, he held the ball for 4 seconds or longer. You can't do that in the NFL. And Tua never does it.
No, but it's one thing, though, Stugotz. Yes, you're right. You can't hold it that long in the NFL. Tua can move in the pocket, but he's not really a scrambling quarterback. But the difference between 4 seconds and he's the fastest in the league with his decision making. Not second fastest, not fourth fastest.
Right.
Man, do you know, as we sit here talking, I would say that a defensive lineman would have to be entirely missed by the offensive lineman to get there that fast, to get there in less than 2.4 seconds. The offensive lineman would have to not just be incompetent, it would have to be just missing you entirely. And the way they're playing football through 3 games makes you think that all the expectations for this season are warranted. It's still built on something fragile, because I always have to say the sentence, if he doesn't get hurt. Because this is specific. You can tell me a lot of quarterbacks can do this if you want, but I saw Skylar Thompson with this offense. He doesn't do the same things. It's not the same. The amount of reps that Tua has gotten, this is how a young quarterback grows over years. It doesn't look generally the way it looks for C.J. Stroud at the beginning, where he's getting pressured and having success anyway. It takes a couple of years to learn it, so much so that Sean Payton, given close to $20 million a year, said he would not be surprised if Teddy Bridgewater replaced Tua.
Teddy Tua gloves.
I'm telling you, it's so weird being at the stadium yesterday. Dolphins fans legitimately don't know how to process this.
Well, how could you?
I'm telling you, like, in between quarters, when you're getting a drink and you're in line with other Dolphins fans, you're high-fiving, but you're just like, wait, so we're good, right? Like, this is real? It's every Dolphins fan. It's the exact same thing. It's just like, I don't know how to react to being this team.
I'd go a step further because I still have some of my friends who are holdouts, and I see their text strings when they're calling the coach an idiot and saying, here we go again, 4th and short, we're giving it to Engold, we're going to be at the half, it's going to be a 4-point game at the half. And I just texted back, how ridiculous do you feel right now? You won by 50. You're questioning that a coach who clearly knows what he's doing is going to go for it on 4th and short because he really trusts his offense to be better than your defense.
Some red flags, though, with him yesterday, right? You want to have that killer instinct out of the coach. Like, you want to go for the record if you can, if you have a chance. I understand, like, you don't want to embarrass the other team, but, like, Sean Payton's not that person you show that respect to. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, Pope Francis or something. Like, Sean Payton's someone that you can embarrass. It's not a big
70's
deal.
enough. We're not in this for regular season.
No.
records.
Oh, please. Come on.
Plus
Stop.
a revenge game for Lord Fangs.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That was one where you rub it in as much as you can.
I would say we rubbed it in, guys.
No, get out of here. They took their foot off the gas. I do agree with obviously not playing the players in the fourth quarter, but they were trying to actively not score. They were trying to trip over the yard lines if they could. Like, they were trying to knock it in the end zone and run up that score if they had to. And by the way, I will say this, Dan, and here's an announcement. Jason Sanders has been downgraded this week. Yep.
That's a good thing, right?
He's now just on probation. He's on probation at the moment because he went 10 of 10 in extra points, didn't miss any field goals, but also wasn't given the opportunity to miss any field goals. And I do wonder, and people were talking, Dan.
Scored 10 touchdowns?
Yeah.
Jason Sanders
So awesome.
recorded double-digit points without scoring a field goal.
Amazing.
shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your running back scored 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Why is the other running back?
Why is it just dawning on me that we scored 10 touchdowns?
What do you mean? Who's the other running back?
That Davin A-Chain.
No,
I mean, he's good.
A-Chain.
A-Chain. He went to Texas A&M. He's really fast.
He moves the A-Chains. I mean,
What?
He does. I like where he's going.
Well, anyways, some people are wondering, Dan, would they have gone for that 73 points if you had faith in Sanders? Because if you go out there and you try to kick and make it 73, then your kicker misses it. You look like a silly.
Let me explain. I'd like to explain to the audience because I don't think that people necessarily understand what a barren landscape Miami Dolphins football has been. During the broadcast yesterday, they said the Dolphins have not started consecutive seasons 2-0, not 3-0, 2-0, since 01-02. And lest that you think that what you saw yesterday and over the first 3 games of the season is a mirage, Stugotz, I was surprised to see this from NFL on CBS. The stats I'm about to give you are totally accurate. This year so far, obviously, Tua is 3-0 just like last year. This year so far, he has 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions just like last year. But this is the one that got me. This year, just like last year, he has thrown 101 passes and completed 72 of them.
oh, my God.
It's exactly the same. Now, of course, last year he had the one Baltimore game at the beginning where they came back in the fourth quarter and got it all in the fourth quarter. But there is no disputing, right? As you see Dallas tumble and everyone make fun of, oh, hey, Super Bowl hopes, right? There is no disputing that what the Dolphins announced yesterday with a number that none of us have ever seen in football. None of us. That was Bethune-Cookman. That was like Miami was playing Bethune-Cookman. They announced to everybody at 70, wait a minute, holy shit, what is happening down there? If you're still watching regional telecasts or you're just watching your team, and you see, how many people around the country do you think looked at 70 and were like, wait a minute, like adjusted their eye or their televisions or?
That's a jarring number. It is. 70 points by one team in an NFL game is a jarring number to see. It is. So I'm certain many people had that reaction. They were shocked.
They're just making it look so easy. And how many seasons have we had down here of 16-14 is the way you win football games? 19-13 is the way that you win football games. Stugotz, it's been like that. Has it been 20 years like that? Has it been 20 straight years of the only way that the Dolphins are going to win a football game is a way that's not interesting?
So it turns out Chris is paying off a punishment this week where he's not allowed to curse the entire week, but has already said, holy shit.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I?
First segment of the week.
So it starts over next week?
Yeah,
No,
clock
tomorrow.
restarts.
Oh, okay.
I get to do it tomorrow, and then I'll do it through Monday next week.
I told him before the show because he's got several outstanding,
man.
several outstanding punishments.
Now you
Let
let
him
him
fly
fly. Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Well, I wanted him to do the Dark Knight. He doesn't want to do it. He's supposed to do a punishment where he has an entire pack of Big League Chew in his mouth throughout the show, but he didn't want to do it today because he wants to talk excitedly about the Dolphins. And my response to him was, it's supposed to be a punishment.
Should I do this one now?
You not cursing for a week is here and not here is also at home? Like, what is the rule for you not cursing?
It's at home too, Dan.
Jeremy has to track him to make sure he doesn't curse at home.
You laugh, but it wasn't I can't eat gluten while I'm here. There are punishments that we take home with us. So what are you serving today? Nothing then? You've just fouled it up?
I'm not so sure I cursed last segment or earlier.
What is the punishment for your punishment? Because if you fail,
How about we just start right now? How about it's Monday? We're all
Nope.
excited. We'll start right now. No more cursing the rest of the week. Come on, let's all be fun. We're all friends here.
we'll get back to the Dolphins. Stugotz and Billy already have out for you God Bless Football. I tell you a couple of different things, actually. Tony and Juju are doing a really nice job with what they're doing immediately after the games on Sunday. That's out. Thousands of people are viewing it, and they do a really nice job with it. So you could get that if you want instantaneous football analysis.
Where can they get it, Dan?
YouTube.
On our YouTube page.
Le
Search
Batard
out
and Friends.
at Le Batard Show and Le Batard and Friends on YouTube. Subscribe, please. Help us grow.
Stugotz and Billy have God Bless Football out. I have learned as I walked by this morning and Stugotz was puffing on a heater in the garage that Stugotz and Billy are now just begging people to send them stuff because someone sent them beef.
Well, Billy can expand on this, but someone sent us something, and Billy debuted a segment this morning called Send Us Stuff.
Well, when in Rome, you know what I mean? If a meat company
Well,
comes
you said
and
no. You said no when I said begging for you to send them stuff, and then it sounds like you just begged people to send you stuff.
No. I wouldn't classify it that way. This is what happened, Dan. A meat company that was featured on Hard Knocks in an episode where they were making gumbo said, hey, did you see us on Hard Knocks last night? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't, but I said, yeah. And then they said, we're big fans of the show. We want to send you a bunch of meat. And I said, okay. And I forgot about it. And then I came in today, and it was like 4 weeks ago, and there was just this box full of meat. And I said, you know what? This is so nice. We should do something with this. We should give it to people. So if anyone wants, there's a bunch of chorizo just out there, lots of sliced meat, just a bunch of different meat. Anyway, so they sent us stuff, and we thought, we should highlight this, and then we can make this segment called Send Us Stuff. But we're not begging people. If you want to send us stuff, go right ahead. Send us stuff. We're not begging you.
God Bless Football is where you find Billy and Stugotz doing funny football things. It is clear already, Stugotz, in an AFC East that for 2 decades has been dominated by the Patriots. I don't know if you, like me, felt bad for Romo and Nance having to do that Patriots-Jets game as their featured game yesterday. But when you look at the differences in the division between the top of the division and the bottom of the division, Belichick was in the rain, his hair was disheveled, and he had shaven so poorly that he clearly had cuts, like little bloody cuts over his lip. He no longer looks like a genius because Mac Jones is his quarterback. But that's not as funny as what happened during the Jets game. At one point I heard, I don't know, it was the second or the third quarter, the Jets have 1 passing yard. And there was a Jets fan in the stands, did you see this, who was screaming at his team, it's miserable, they can't score, he's wearing a rain parka, and his teeth kind of fall out in his mouth. They become dislodged.
His Jets fan, man.
His hatred and his anger is so strong as he sits there near Seth Rogen, and he spits teeth out in a way that's very frustrated. Put it on the poll. Has your football team ever frustrated you so much that you spit out your fake teeth?
A Jets fan losing his teeth while saying, get the to Zach Wilson.
Maximum Jets, yes.
Is as Jetsy as you can formulate it in a lab. He can't even finish telling his starting quarterback, his bust of a quarterback, get the F out of here, because on the F word, his teeth fall out.
How frustrating is it for the Jets to see the Houston Texans have one of the 7 fullbacks in the league running a kickoff 85 yards for a touchdown, and they can't get touchdowns? I will tell you again that the Jets have 42 points this season.
They got to do something about this quarterback position.
They have to. They cannot start Zach Wilson again.
The window is slamming shut.
They don't trust him to throw the ball, and they have good reason to not trust him. They see him every single day in practice. The sample size is large enough. But I will say this. A lot of this is on Joe Douglas, and a lot of this is on Robert Saleh.
It's also on an injury.
Well, address the offensive line. The reason we have to sign Brett Favre, the reason we have to sign Aaron Rodgers past their primes is because we can never get the quarterback position right, ever. We take Sam Darnold. We take Zach Wilson. And then what do we do once we have Zach Wilson? We don't coach him up. We don't make him better. We don't get an offensive line. The offensive line has been a disaster for years now for the Jets. And I'm not certain they'd be any better if Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback.
Well, they would be.
Dan,
they would be. Stugotz, they can't be.
Dan, that offensive line is one of the reasons Aaron Rodgers got hurt.
They've got incompetence at the position. Aaron Rodgers would not be that. at the position.
But they matched up against a really good defensive line from Buffalo, and they opened up a bunch of holes in the running game. And you have Nathaniel Hackett, who, other than like having Zach Wilson, I'm sure he felt pretty good about his Sunday considering what the Broncos did. But he's just not giving his running backs the ball enough. In a 15-10 game, they threw the ball 36 times with Zach Wilson. Breece Hall said yesterday,
because the Patriots are daring them to throw.
Yeah,
because they
everyone
know,
is.
because
rightfully. I mean, it's hard to espouse run the ball when Breece Hall is averaging 1.5 yards per carry, but he got the ball 4 times in the game previous. He got the ball just 12 times in this game. They have to stay committed to the running game. If not, just go out and get another quarterback. And yet, Saleh, what else is he going to say? Stands by his quarterback at the end of the game. But I don't care how much Dolphin sex Aaron Rodgers is listening to, the season's going to be well over by December.
he was listening to Dolphin sex against the Broncos yesterday. South Florida, all of South Florida.
We should
was
just have
listening.
Kevin Harlan on.
Dan, I have a Dolphin stat. Would you like it?
Yep.
A stat of the day, even some might say. Ready?
Well, you need your music.
Oh, well, then
You
we
can't,
won't. Then it's not a stat of the day. Well, I'm just trying to make things easy for Mike.
Right.
All right, so yes.
Now,
So
after,
just a stat.
so now you've decided after 15 years that today's the day you're going to try and
it's
make it
nice.
easy.
Right.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
In yesterday's 50-point win over the Denver Broncos, Tua Tagovailoa had a 135.42 passer rating and 2 touchdowns, right-handed.
He threw 2 of them.
Stat of the year.
I didn't see the other one. What was the other one? I saw the shovel pass. Did they ran that play again?
Yeah, they did it twice. No look shovel pass with the offhand. Yeah.
Did you know, Stugotz, that Charles Johnson's kid played in the NFL? I did not learn that until yesterday.
CJ's?
That's right.
Really?
Yes, when they said, I just heard his father played for the Marlins. And I'm like, whose father played for the Marlins? And I realized that the Broncos had a player that I did not know was Charles Johnson's son. I wanted to ask you, when you say they haven't coached Zach Wilson up, because I really don't know, and you don't know either. It's very hard for us to do some of the measurements on this. Brian Flores right now, his lawsuit, he would lose it if someone just turned on the film of yesterday's game anywhere around his lawyers. Because it didn't seem like Brian Flores believed in Tua in any way. And I don't know whether what has happened is a natural growth aided by scheme and speed that would have also happened, probably not like this, but would have also happened if Brian Flores had believed and supported. But when you say that Zach Wilson, they have not coached him up correctly, nobody in the world could have foreseen, nobody, what you're seeing from the precision, accuracy, and decision-making of the quarterback position of this Tua when he was playing for Brian Flores with a team that overachieved with and for Brian Flores.
Mike McDaniel saw it, though.
Not this, Stugotz.
I
You
know,
can
but-
see something without seeing this. No one foresaw this.
But, Dan, he did tell us that he thought Tua was the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. That's before he really got into it with Tua.
I know, but Stugotz, what you're talking about right now is if he does this all season, it'll be the greatest season we've ever seen from a quarterback. Like if he does this all season, if this is recreatable and he doesn't get hurt over 17 games,
right.
That's not where we had him under Brian Flores. That's not what he looked like. He was learning the game. It's a difficult position to learn. My only point is, as observers, it's easy to say they're not coaching Zach Wilson up. Yeah, he looks totally incompetent.
Yep.
And it's easy to blame management and structure and organization around a quarterback who doesn't look like he can play football and was taken 3 spots higher than Tua was taken. And I've had to walk back my position on coaching because of the evolution on coaching, because I'm watching San Francisco and the Dolphins, and they look like they're light years ahead of the guy who just got $20 million a year from the Walmart family that spent $4.65 billion to own that team because he was supposed to be smarter than everybody else.
They look light years ahead because they are light years ahead. Jimmy Garoppolo does not look like the same quarterback without Kyle Shanahan. I mean, what Mike McDaniel has done with Tua is absolutely incredible. And yes, Dan, he was a big-time prospect coming out of college. We were talking about tanking for Tua. That's what teams were trying to do. They wanted that quarterback so badly, but no one, and I mean no one, could have seen that he was going to turn into this. And a lot of it has to do with Mike McDaniel and the players they have put around Tua.
You can tank for Tua and expect him to be good. Trevor Lawrence came with exactly the same expectations.
No doubt.
And it doesn't look like this.
I always get a slight chuckle out of people describing Miami's and San Francisco's offense as innovative, because the principles of their offense have been around for 40 years. It's the Shanahan offense, but there's a lot to be said for growth and development within the system, because now another year in the system, Tua's decisiveness, the ability to make reads quickly, because that's what makes you impossible to beat. When you take the top off the defense, we saw even Patrick Mahomes struggle when teams were like daring him to take what's underneath. Tua's not having that struggle this season. That Patriots game is a great example of how you stay in a game against Miami and how Miami is not falling in love with a cheat code in Tyreek Hill. And now they have their running game online. Armstead was hurt all of the year. And now you see Armstead back in that team. And what their running game is doing, that is the Shanahan offense.
Mike,
right
there was
there.
no Waddle yesterday.
It's insane. It's insane how good they are and how they've developed the personnel on the team to play within it.
I want to switch over because I imagine we will wear out people with Dolphins talk over the coming season.
It's the biggest story from the weekend, and it was an incredible football weekend, and they were the biggest story.
I would say Dion and the way he lost was pretty big too, and I
there
don't
it
want to.
goes.
I don't want to
Taylor
get.
Swift
I
was
don't
big.
want to.
Swift,
That one too. Yeah, we got to talk about Travis Kelce's dating habits. But the first thing that I wanted to go to, because I actually called Mike this weekend because I imagined him sleeping Saturday night as a hater with a giant smile on his face, having trouble. Put on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Have you ever had trouble getting to sleep because you're smiling too much? Because I think that, I don't know which made Mike happier. The fact that every college football team in the shipping container lost, the fans that we have here, and there is great joy in watching your friends lose. But they all lost, and some of them lost in funny, debilitating Al Golden fashions. But also, Mike the hater, who has had to eat a month of Dion talk, a month of the way Colorado's building it is better than the way Miami is building it. I understand Miami hasn't played anyone. I understand that Temple doesn't impress you. However, I would say that not unlike the Miami Dolphins, their quarterback, Stugotz, with time to throw.
Very good.
With time to throw, as he always has had this season, because that offensive line is as good as money can buy, is a different football team. And so it's not just that the University of Miami has started unbeaten this season and is dragging teams that might be okay, like Miami of Ohio, which beat Cincinnati, or Texas A&M, teams that might be okay.
Yeah,
It's
you
not,
say they haven't played anybody, but I mean, if
That was a top 20 team at the time, right?
If you take Bethune out of the equation, which is an FCS team, the FBS teams outside of Temple are undefeated. Were not for playing Miami.
Understood, but as I tell the audience right now, Miami of Ohio, Temple, and Texas A&M as victories. That would be a yawn from our audience on the strength of schedule. They'll have chances to prove it. They're going to play FSU. North Carolina, they'll have a chance right now.
That's the first chance.
North Carolina
Yeah.
has in Drake May a quarterback who's supposed to be taken top 5, and I've heard people say that he is in the discussion with Caleb Williams. So
No, he's not.
I don't think so either.
Not for the Heisman, but for the top pick in the draft, he is.
For the top,
He's
pick
actually in that
yeah,
discussion.
That guy's
yes.
a prototype.
Yeah.
He's a great
Right.
player.
We will find out
Hopefully the Jets get him.
soon enough.
You're
But
not going to draft a quarterback. If you're not trading for a quarterback because you're afraid of hurting Aaron Rodgers' feelings, you're not going to draft a quarterback.
Here's the other thing. Matt Ryan, his agent is calling the Jets. The Jets say, nah, we're good. You're not good. Carson Wentz, his agent calls the Jets, and I don't want Carson Wentz, but it's better than Zach Wilson. The Jets say, nah, we're good. And so now we're going to be held hostage by a guy who has played 4 snaps for us. We're not going to get a quarterback or draft his replacement because we don't want to upset Aaron Rodgers. What is that?
Have you considered rooting for another team?
Yes.
Someone needs to tell Aaron Rodgers, like, hey, buddy, what's your plan? Like, how long are you going to be here? Because we can't just do nothing to not hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're not going to trade for a quarterback to not upset him, you're not going to draft a quarterback, then you're looking at like 4 or 5 years of irrelevance just to keep Aaron Rodgers happy when he may not even play that long.
Right.
Don't pick the Chargers, Stu.
I won't. Yeah, I want to rent a team for a year if I could do that. Just for a year, till Aaron gets healthy. The second Aaron is back, I'll be back to
I
the
tried
Jets.
this. People won't let you forget it.
Well, I want to rent your team.
Fuentes, put it on the screen, please, in the corner. The Jets fan with his teeth falling out, just so that Stugotz can see what is happening in his life right now. He's out after 3 games. They've finally broken him. He wants to rent another team, and it's the Dolphins, which is their only rival. Correct? The Jets.
Well, the Bills, the Patriots. They've lost to the Patriots 15 consecutive times now, Dan.
That's amazing. That's not a rival. Hammer and a nail don't have a rivalry.
15 consecutive times.
Not a rivalry.
I mean, most of those had to be without Brady. I mean,
It's not a rivalry. Put it on the poll. Do you have a rivalry if you've lost 15 straight times to a single team? The Jets have one rival.
yeah.
It is the Dolphins. The Dolphins. This hurts, right? It hurts enough to spit up your teeth. That the Jets have 43 points this season, and the Dolphins came very close to having that at the half yesterday.
It all hurts, Dan.
I know.
I mean, thank you for the reminder. It all hurts. Marino still hurts, okay? We passed on Marino, and he went to the Dolphins. That still hurts. All of it hurts. Every single bit of it hurts. We sent Chad Pennington down here. He had the best season he's ever had. They won the division. It hurts.
Yeah, they won the division, but it was with games that were 16-14.
But they won.
I understand. They didn't win in the playoffs. They got to the playoffs.
I'll take losing in the playoffs.
They lost in the first round of the playoffs, and I will tell you again, the most enthusiastic thing about this Dolphin team, it's not that it's winning, it's how. Because it won with Chad Pennington to go 11-5. But all the games were insufferable to watch. Not since Marino have I ever felt the Dolphins have the better team that's on the field all the time. That's a long time. That's multiple generations, Stugotz.
I know.
And not since the early 2000s did you even entertain the notion of a Super Bowl. And I think you have that. You have a Super Bowl. You have a Super Bowl favorite down here in Miami.
You go to Buffalo, Dan, and you feel like you have the better coach. You feel like, I cannot believe I'm saying this, you feel like you have the better quarterback. You do. I mean, you do.
I think that you have a far less reckless quarterback. I still fear Josh Allen both ways. I fear that I will lose to him, and I would fear having him on my team because he'll fumble 3 times and throw an interception. Both ways, I fear Josh Allen's just general recklessness. I do believe that they will lose close games because, and already have, to the Jets somehow without Aaron Rodgers. By the way, I did mention that they had 43 points. 22 of them were in that game. So, like,
Right.
they are going to be hard to watch all season if they do not change their quarterback. Because, again, the announcers said during the game yesterday, and I felt bad for Romo and Nance, I heard the phrase 1 passing yard. We weren't in the first quarter anymore. It was either the second or the third. I can't remember.
There was one time where he just fell to the ground. Like, there was no one around him, but he is like, Dan, he's thinking so much out there, and he's so nervous, and the moments are just too big for Zach Wilson. And the coaching staff clearly said, hey, just don't turn the ball over. So rather than try to make a play, he is willing to fall straight to the ground, take a sack, so he doesn't turn the ball over. It is dreadful,
It's
man.
the opposite of how the Dolphins are playing, right? Because you could see the confidence in the people involved. When RG3 says of Tyreek Hill, this is the best wide receiver in the game, this skill set, and what he says, no, man, that's my quarterback. That's my quarterback that is making me look like that because everything he throws me is I'm catching it in stride. If I have a yard, and he always has a yard on everybody in every direction, if I have a yard, my quarterback is making me look like Justin Jefferson. out there. But getting back to what I was saying about the Miami Hurricanes and Mike Ryan falling asleep with a smile on his face on Saturday night, he was maximum hater of Deion Sanders. Said it flatly. Said, I hate him. I hate what's happening. Was jealous of what was happening there. Was threatened. Was bothered by Warren Sapp and Michael Irvin and The Rock, all University of Miami guys. What do you say? What are you shaking your head no about? You were bothered by this.
Dan, no, you're projecting again. I understood where people were coming from. I'm not going to go at The Rock for supporting a school he didn't go to. That'd be stupid of me and hypocritical. But I was having a little bit fun with the notion that we're celebrating Deion Sanders, even though he's eking out 1-point victories as a 24-point favorite. And I did really get a huge chuckle out of the promos for the USC-Colorado game in the middle of NFL programming, calling it the biggest football game of the year, kind of forgetting that at halftime the Colorado Buffaloes had minus 40 rushing yards.
That smile is the one Dan's talking about.
Colorado Buffaloes, it's going to take a minute. And I think we all got carried away because that first win at TCU was so important to establishing the culture. And I have very little doubt that Colorado will matter henceforth as long as Deion Sanders is there. But we were breathless. That it takes a while to build up the trenches, and that is a very tiny Colorado team on the inside. And I really enjoyed how much Oregon talked about it entering this game. Dan Lanning had a really funny pregame speech, and I was really curious to see how Deion Sanders would deal with the first bit of adversity he's had to face at Colorado. Who would he point fingers at? And if the loss to Oregon is any indication, this is going to get real nasty around loss number 4. But here's Deion Sanders after the game.
I don't think it's a target on our back. I just think this teams are trying to beat me. They're not trying to beat our team. They keep forgetting I'm not playing anymore. I had a great career. I'm serious. I got a gold jacket, ain't back. So I'm good. But that's what it really is. I don't think they get any extra satisfaction, you know. It is what it is. And I signed up for it, so let's go. No, that don't make it tougher on our team. These are grown men. I'm not out there. If I was out there playing against every coach I played against, we would be totally dominant.
That's so great. That's so great. Also, is he not paying attention? I mean, there's a massive target on their backs.
Well, I do love that after 3 wins, me, and then after the loss, why are they trying to beat me? This is on the kid. Beat the kids.
Well, they did.
I know. Beat them up and down. Dan Lanning, did he release? Like, they must have released that pregame speech. They knew they were going to win. They know the size advantages that they have up front. And Lanning was somebody who, I'm assuming their social media team put this out, right, Mike? That they released this video that we're going to go to in a second.
He gave the television network full access to that speech. He gave them no access leading up to the game and then gave them full access because he knew he was going to unleash.
He had, now that the writer's strike is over, I imagine he got one early to cook this one up.
Rooted in substance, not flash. Rooted in substance. Today, we talk with our pads. You talk with your helmet, right? Every moment. The Cinderella story is over, man. Right? They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins. There's a difference, right? There's a difference, right? This game ain't going to be played in Hollywood. It's going to be played on the grass, right? It's going to be played on the grass. Let's go.
The spittle came out of his mouth.
You talk with your helmet.
Great.
You talk with your pads.
Play with your pads.
The spittle came right out of his mouth, Stugotz like. It was a big chunk of spittle because he's a football coach through and through, and that is the most watched game he'll have all season.
Also, he said that they're all substance. Don't they have like 52 jerseys and like no national championships? It just seems like if there's any, besides Colorado, who's the flashy team that hasn't really won much?
Don't they also have like an ornate barber shop in their $7 billion locker room? Because they're funded by Nike, whose founder,
Substance.
Phil Knight, calls plays from a skybox.
Not my favorite spittle-soaked interview, though. Give me this one. Because Ryan Day had my favorite moment
The best.
of the sports season.
Yeah.
And I would just like to thank Al Golden, defensive coordinator for the Fighting Irish. The 2 final plays of that game, you thought your defense was good enough to just have 10 players out on the field. Phenomenal.
It was great. We will get to that video in a second. Stugotz, late in that game, I think Ohio State converted a 3rd and 9, a 4th and 7, and a 3rd and 19. And then at the end, Al Golden just sent twice 10 players onto the field.
Out of a timeout.
It was breathtaking.
Marcus Freeman, though, in his defense said, I noticed the second time,
Right.
but I decided I didn't want to give them the half yard. I decided to give them the
A
extra
touchdown.
player.
There was definitely someone while it was happening. Not him. He's lying about that. But there was definitely someone who noticed, right? Like the 2 players that should have been there, like one or the back or whatever, like looked at each other and like,
The other team noticed they ran it where the defender was supposed to be.
Well, but on Notre Dame's side, for sure, someone was aware it was happening before they lost the game, and they're like, I'm not saying anything if you don't say anything, because like we need to go down with the ship on this one. Like one of us has bleeped this up. Like we can't admit this problem. We just have to hope that this turns out the right way, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you can see on the screen here, Stugotz, where it is Ohio State is going to run the ball because
Marcus didn't want to give him a half yard.
Oh, Golden. Oh, you gem. The gift that keeps on giving, Al Golden. The game is on the line. It's a goal line. You don't even have your player. What are you doing?
Is that the smile you're talking about, Dan?
he was thrilled because Jessica must have been suffering this. I was
the
told
worst.
she was coming in today, and then all of a sudden she vanished.
No, she
was supposed to be on the schedule today, and now Tony got
She had a rough one.
bullpen.
Called up from the bullpen, buddy. I'm always here.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. I again tell the audience on YouTube, Tony and Juju are doing it differently immediately after games. You should check them out immediately after NFL games on Sunday. Thousands of people are doing so. But beyond Notre Dame embarrassing itself at the end, Stugotz, I think I'm with Mike on my favorite thing of the weekend was not just this Ryan Day insane sound because he was so happy to win after the game, but the fact that he was going after what an 86-year-old Lou Holtz had said to someone on the Pat McAfee show wearing a Lou Holtz mask and impersonating the lisp of Lou Holtz. So he's furious.
What a time, man.
He is furious about 86-year-old Lou Holtz accusing his team, his school, of a lack of grit. And here's Ryan Day giving the single most interesting interview right after the game he's ever given.
Like, I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
Tough team.
Like, I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now.
No one cares where Lou Holtz is right now.
Well, he's sleeping. He's
Not even his family.
He's 86 years old.
Well, he was at the game. He was probably feet away from him.
Sleeping.
What he said about our team, I cannot believe.
Do you have to be like emotionally and mentally unstable to be a head coach?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I cannot believe.
It's deeply unhealthy.
Like, I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now.
Also, his hair very dark.
He
yeah.
claims that it's natural. We asked him about it on
not.
God Bless
The
Football
beard
last
is dark,
year.
too.
Ask him straight up to his face. Said, "Hey,
Yes.
coach, there's no way."
Tough
And he
team.
said it's real.
He swears, yes.
Give me the entire sound again.
And it'll continue to be Ohio against the world.
Again, though, I need to explain to people, on the Pat McAfee show, it was someone wearing an old man's bank robber mask of Lou Holtz, speaking with an exaggerated lisp
And it was benign.
to Lou Holtz.
It was so benign. He's like, I have respect for Ohio State. He was coach at Ohio State. If you look at their losses, they've lost to the tougher team, which is like pretty accurate.
Where's Lou Holtz?
Like, I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
Is the noise behind him getting louder?
Yes.
Is he getting fired up and more fired up till a squeaky place is where he gets to because of the noise behind him?
Like, I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now.
What a game. That game was trash. And then the final 10 minutes happened, and it was a movie. Thank you, Al Golden. Like, I'd like to know where the 11th guy is right now.
Also, Ryan Day's from New Hampshire.
Billy, before we finish up on the local hour, this is a fun week of baseball. The Marlins have the Pirates, they have the Mets, and they're a game back. The Cubs have been hitting the ball a ton. I don't know what the rest of the schedule is for. They're not going to catch Arizona, so the Cubs is who they have to catch.
I believe the Cubs play the Braves now, which should be good for the Marlins unless the Braves decide to play baseball, and then it's not necessary. Or unless they decide to take it off because they're already in.
Are they a game and a half back of Arizona?
Yeah.
They could still.
Yeah, but they're not going to jump two teams. It's basically down to the Marlins and Cubs because the Reds have kind of fallen out of it a little bit. I mean, there's 6 games left, so anything can happen because no one, it seems, for the past couple of weeks has really wanted to run away with this thing. But these Marlins, man, they just can't get a break because first they have at the beginning of the season when they're doing well, they have the Heat going on a run championship. Now they have the Dolphins and what should be like kind of like the boring part of the season, scoring 70 points. No one is they can't get the attention on themselves. And no one can stay healthy. Everyone's hurt. They keep hurting themselves. Luis Arias last week sprained his ankle, stepping on a ball during batting practice, and then twisted it again walking down the steps because the lights were off because the closer was coming in. Like, they just can't win, it seems.
It is fair, and you can criticize me. I'm a Marlins fan, and I didn't go. It's fair to criticize Marlins fans this past weekend, right? It was Saturday, the last homestand of the season.
Saturday had a good crowd. The upper deck was open. Yeah, upper deck was open, kind of full. Not a bad showing. And by the way, yes, it would be fair. They should. You would think
the Brewers are good.
The Brewers are a playoff team. If the Marlins made the playoffs, theoretically, that could have been a preview of the first round of the playoffs. The Brewers will be in. The Marlins may end up playing the Brewers in the playoffs if they survive. So it was a good, fun, almost playoff weekend for the Marlins. They end up winning the series. The first game was a disaster. They gave up 12 runs in an inning, so that was an ugly game, obviously. But they took care of business. They won the series, won the next 2 games, had a nice little Saturday and Sunday out of the fish there, Dano.
This is where they stun me, okay? Because they are in position, Stugotz, now to fatten up against Mets and Pirates that don't have anything to play for. The place that they've stunned me is they stayed in it while injured, going through and mowing through the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Braves.
That was the big stretch for them.
Well, and they struggled against the Mets, which is why this is kind of like worrisome. Like, oh my God, are they going to do this again? And here's the thing that is kind of a downer is even if they pull this off, they're not going to be going into the postseason anywhere near full strength, right? They're losing their two of their best starting pitchers, right?
But Sandy's coming back, isn't he?
No,
trying
he's not.
To come back
no, he got
re-injured.
Yeah, so he had a minor
rehab
league
start.
rehab start where he got forearm soreness. So he is now shut down for the year. Yuri is shut down for the year. He's not going to be playing anymore. We don't know what his availability would have been in the postseason anyways because of the fact that he has like an innings limit, we assume, because it's his first season. But yeah, they're not healthy. They're going into it, down. So if they go in, let's say they make the playoffs and they lose the first round, and people are like, oh, typical Marlins, whatever.
Making the playoffs is a great season for them.
Oh, this is the first time, I believe, since 2000.
It's already been a great
since like
season.
2010 that they won 80 games in a season, 2012, something like that.
It's already a success.
Yeah,
No
this
doubt.
has been a great season for them. It's just kind of a shame because you see what could have been had they stayed healthy and had people played up to what we were expecting in Sandy.
So as Dan mentioned, they have the Mets and the Pirates. The Cubs have the Braves and the Brewers. Like, I like your chances here, Billy.
But you never know. You never know because, again, you have injuries. You don't know what's going to play out. And also, these Pirates seem to be a little thorn in the side of people, huh? You see what they did to the Reds this weekend? Reds were up, and the Reds are still in it. Reds were up 9-0. The Pirates came back and beat them in that game.
Feisty.
Quitters, these Reds. I didn't say it. You said it.
Chris Cody, give me 30 seconds of your best Dolphin material as the Dark Knight, please. As the Dark Knight, I want your best Dolphin analysis. Finish us out on this hour strong.
Rachel, this team hasn't even hit its stride yet. The defense is still playing at a C level. You get that up to an A level. You got a Super Bowl contender. I wasn't prepared to do this as Batman. I had plenty of stuff to say, but it's difficult to formulate sentences in this tone.
Hey! Oh, shit! Oh, I know, I cursed.
I'll start it
All
again.
right, go sit in the penalty box.
A tough team.
What a choke
Yeah,
job.
tough team.